And walk you through the story as has been narrated to us by the Attorney General, Professor Dominic Ayeni, with respect to Omne Dubois, who is the immediate past boss of the Signals Bureau. Now, he mentions that amongst many other things, that for starters, this is not an investigation which is directly under the Operation Recover or Loot and the work which was done by Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa and the committee which was subsequently handed over to him. But with respect to the fact of the case, as at February 25 of this year, Mr. Dubois left the country to the UK and he subsequently moved to Dubai in an attempt to, as part of his journey, return to the country. But there was an interesting mix with respect to how his return was captured. Now, according to the Attorney General and the facts he's been providing us, while in Dubai, Mr. Dubois purchased tickets with Emirates Airlines to return to the country. Now, when the due date was nearing, which was in April, and that's the indication we get that his initial flight details to Ghana based on the Emirates airline was to return to the country in April. But interestingly, that flight was cancelled on the 20th of March. Now, upon the cancellation of that flight details, Iyoko was quick to pick out details of two possible flights which were returning to Ghana from the UAE, that's a British Airways flight, and then a KLM flight. And per the indication or the understanding they had, there was a suspicion that he could have been on either of such flights. Now, upon an investigation into the manifest on the plane, there was a name which appeared similar to Mr. Dubois' name, or just slight differentials with respect to some of the initials which were captured in the name. And that is what served as a basis upon which he was put on a list and he was picked up when he was arrested. Now, with respect to details of really the crime upon which investigations are currently happening with respect to him, here's what the Attorney General has been telling us, that as head of the Signals Bureau, where there's the expectation that they were supposed to provide or purchase some cybersecurity solutions for the company, herein named BNC, Mr. Dubois and his wife incorporated a completely new company with the same name, BNC, with accounts with a different bank. Now, when approval was subsequently given for this purchase of cybersecurity solutions, which estimated to cost some $7 million US, funds were transferred from the accounts, the national account of the Signals Bureau. Just to make it pretty simple, funds were transferred from the public account of the Signals Bureau to this private account owned by Mr. Dubois and his wife, out of which of the total amount which was subsequently transferred, only a little over $1 million was actually paid to the company expected to provide these cybersecurity solutions to the National Signals Bureau. Subsequently, the rest of the funds have been used by Mr. Dubois. That's according to the Attorney General, and it is upon this which investigations are currently ongoing. With respect to oral and as well work being done there, he provided updates with respect to the Sky Trains and then the NSA ghost names as well. Says that with respect to the NSA ghost names, 8 persons have been interrogated and they are beginning to cooperate in providing details, or amongst many other things, some monies were paid to a member of parliament to kill a story or to kill the story with respect to the revelations in the NSA ghost names. With respect to the Sky Trains as well, they say they have enough to be able to proceed. The former chief executive, they understand, has left the country and is currently in Senegal, where there are no extradition treaties between us and Senegal, hence upon which he can be brought back into the country. And so essentially, latest with respect to briefings as provided by the Attorney General, Professor Dominic Ayeni, there will be a lot more for you and for us to be able to chew on subsequently, where a lot of questions as well have been asked. But from us here are the Information Service Department auditorium where the Attorney General just addressed us. Brief details with respect to work done by Yoko on the National Signals Bureau, and as well a latest update from Oral. Now when I better back to the studio.
Eric Mawena Egbeta there from the ISD, where the Attorney General has been addressing the press regarding some investigations in the country. I'll just fill in some of the blanks that Mawena may have left out. He also talks about, the AG also talked about how the suspect, Kwabena Edubwahim, has 2 service passports, one to expire in 2033, the other in 2039. He also has a regular passport, one foreign passport, because he bought citizenship. At this time, the AG has not disclosed which citizenship or which country that citizenship comes from. And he also goes on to talk about the transfer of monies between the National BNC and the BNC, which the suspect and his wife had incorporated. Some 49 million cedis had gone through from the national account to his private accounts for the purchase of cyber defense software. Now, the AG explains that instead of the money going directly to the Israeli company ISC, the 49 million cedis went to Edubwahim's BNC. Subsequently, 9 million cedis of that went to the ISC. The rest of the money, which came to about $7 million plus, about 40 million cedis at then exchange rate, were distributed to many companies, company accounts connected to Kwabena Edubwahim, and that's coming from the Attorney General. Much of the money, he says, after tracking, they noticed that they went into the purchase of landed properties. Many of these properties here in Accra, about at least 4 of them at Mayfair Estate here in Accra, 2 properties in London. The AG mentions that they are tracking those properties as well and hope to get their hands on those properties as well. Then he goes to give timelines as to how those monies were transferred from the Edubwahim connected accounts to purchase the landed properties. But let's get quick conversations on the back of these developments we are hearing from the Attorney General. Really revealing a news conference there. Jonathan Asante-Otre, PhD, is an analyst who's joining us via Zoom. Doc, good afternoon to you. I'll quickly move on to what we've heard so far from the Attorney General. Let's start off from where I left off. The revelations from their investigation of they investigating Kwabena Edubwahim, who headed the National Signals Bureau. What do you make of what you've heard so far?
Let me say good afternoon to your viewers. Revealing. It's quite revealing. I think that as a country we have to work a little harder when it comes to white collar crimes. They are so sophisticated that you will need someone who is quite attentive, who is quite investigative, who has an eye for little details, who is ready and willing to dot the I's and cross the T's, because you could see that this is someone who is highly sophisticated and a very intelligent person at that. So it will have to take someone who is more intelligent than him to be able to uncover all this. I think that the Attorney General is quite meticulous. He appears so, and so in as much as people have been calling on the current government with respect to accountability day in, day out, you just cannot hastily go to court and make a mess of yourself. Because if you listen to him carefully, he makes us understand that to go to court, to go and prosecute, you must demonstrate the willingness, you must have the fortitude, you must have the evidence to be able to get, success. It doesn't have to be that kind of political witch hunting where, in time past we saw something of that sort. And so I think that we have in the person of Dr. Ayine and that of Dr. Sremsai, meticulous Attorney Generals, substantive and deputy. And so I think that it's still early days yet. It appears to us that this is going to be a series, and most likely in the not too distant future, we are going to see some more, especially when they are done. And so he talks about plea bargaining and other things. If people are wise enough and they want to take that particular route, I think that in itself will bring the state that kind of money that we all need. And that's why, yeah.
Indeed, Doc. I'll hold you on a little bit and then move on to the telephone lines where we are joined by legal practitioner Martin Kpebu. I appreciate you talking to us, lawyer, but you've heard from the Attorney General. I want to pick your initial thoughts on what you've heard so far.
Yeah, so it's good. It's heartwarming to hear that at least this matter, there is, good evidence that is making the case look like an open and shut case. When we say open and shut in law, those are the easier cases, open and shut, right? So it's heartwarming to hear. We had heard some of this information informally, but now it's good that formally the Attorney General has said so. The money, about 39 million to him, right? That's a lot of money that can build schools, a lot of money that can provide more health care, people on dialysis, kidney patients, etc. So that is good. The only other side, and that's the kernel of the matter for me at this time in our governance, is the search of Governor Addison's home. The search on Governor Addison's home. So I hear he says what Afenyo Martin said is untrue. That's the issue of the 10,000 Ghana, etc. But coincidentally, you can check. About 10 minutes before I heard the Attorney General, I'd heard on another platform where lawyer Ahmed Shaibu, the wager NP, went on to say that the National Security Coordinator, this is what Ahmed Shaibu said, the National Security Coordinator had to call Governor Addison to apologize for what went on. So now who is saying the truth? I don't think it's good for our governance.
So we've got to get to the bottom of that.
Yes, we need to, because Ahmed Shaibu was on air saying that because the search didn't go well, the National Security Coordinator had to call Governor Addison. Please, let's get to the bottom of this. If somebody's made a mistake or whatever it is, I think the person should just apologize. We are ready to accept it, then we'll move on. But
very well. So lawyer, here's what I want us to do. We'll come back to this issue, but first we'll listen to the wager MP when he made those comments. Right now, I want us to focus on the investigations as has been reviewed by the Attorney General into the NSB boss and Kwabna Edubuahin, so to speak. Listen, when you hear some of the things that the AG has said, it raises questions about why no alarm was raised at any point in those bank transactions. From the legal point of view, how do you process that?
Well, it's not surprising at all. So this is what we've always meant when we say politicians are crooks, politicians are crooks, politicians are crooks. They will cover themselves. So once the previous government was in power, they weren't going to do anything to review the bad deeds, the corruption and the financial loss that was going on. No, they weren't going to do it because they know that if they reviewed, the people of Ghana would punish them. But somehow we could also tell, we knew that these things were going on. Do you remember on TV3 for the past 2 weeks, I've been sharing another contract that Leader Pa was involved in, the filtration contract. She signed the contract and paid over 30 million euros without going through the Attorney General. The Attorney General didn't see the contract. The Attorney General didn't review it. Yet when the trouble came, when the company couldn't fulfill, and then they had to report to the Attorney General, the Attorney General looked at it and said there should be a refund of the money. That was in March 2024. About how many? 9 months to an election. Yes, the Attorney General himself didn't do anything. So that is another example that when they see bad things, they will cover up. They won't let us see. That is it when we say politicians are crooks. Until they left office, did you see Godfrey Dami coming out to say that, hey, Leader Pa is involved in another bad contract, or Leader Pa has cause us financial loss. Did you hear Attorney General? No. We had to start them before we could see this contract document. So I'm not surprised that the NSS one, those things were not reviewed. I'm not surprised at all. This is not the first time.
I see. Well, again, from what the AG has narrated to us, he is tracking the accounts owned by the belonging to the suspect and his wife and the companies they are connected to. But at the same time, he holds off. He falls short of saying that he will freeze these accounts. Is it legally wise at this point for the AG not to seek immediately freeze orders on these accounts?
Oh, definitely, I'm thinking he will do so, but he will not say so publicly.
Well, what he said is that he's warned the banks and the employees connected to the suspect from moving assets. But, he hasn't really said immediately that he will go after freeze orders.
Oh, but from what Dr. Ayini is saying, and don't forget, Dr. Ayini is an astute politician and a professor of law at that. I'll be surprised that he doesn't, because if he doesn't and the money goes out of the account, he knows Ghanaians will not forgive him. So for me, I would want to hold my horses on it, and perhaps we will send him messages that this is what the public is saying. Because don't forget, I'm the same person. When Mamiti Dankwa sat down and OSP returned the money to Leadapa, when this Tiwa at Yoko Boss should have been collecting it, and yet she didn't do. You see how we are constantly talking about it and complaining, holding Tiwa accountable. So in the same way, Dr. Ayini knows that if he doesn't freeze the account now, Ghanaians for the next 10 years will talk about it. So I'll be very surprised that Dr. Ayini will not do that. No, I'll be extremely surprised.
Another thing he speaks about is the 260 million bill for the primary suspects, Kwabena Dubois, his wife, and some other suspects he does not name, and he explains why he does not do that. But he also says that he is recommending to IOCO to rearrest Kwabena Dubois because of the, because of some intelligence he has. I mean, again, I'm going to ask whether this is legally strategic at all.
Yes. So from what I've seen, that he's going to ask that they rearrest him, then presumably it means it's another transaction. Presumably it's another transaction, because if it's the old transaction, the purchase of those equipment, once they've kept him in custody for more than 48 hours, they have to grant him bail. So, and I he knows, and already you see how we are talking in the public. He knows that if it doesn't go by the law, the backlash will be there for years. So at this time, I just want to wait and see. If he says rearrest, usually they rearrest when there is something new, meaning that the crimes for which you were granted bail are done. They've gotten something new. He says, based on a briefing I got yesterday night, I've advised Yoko to grant him bail. That's for what they already investigated, and rearrest him. So presumably that is for something new. If it is not, if it comes out, as I said, we all know how the public will react. So let's just watch keenly.
I see.